That's not the screen I want. Hey, my name's Johnny Mendoza, and welcome to the training on how I lost 45 pounds and actually kept it off while working a corporate job, which was like 50 to 60 plus hours a week. And I did this while eating foods that I actually liked, and I didn't have to go to the gym every single day, which I pretty much couldn't, anyways, even if I wanted to. In this training, I'm going to cover the mistakes that I made that got me to where I ended up at 215 pounds before I lost the weight, the weight that I gained, and then the mistakes that I made along the way while I was losing the weight that just made my progress take a lot longer than it should have, twice as long actually. And then I'm gonna walk you through the different phases of weight loss that I went through. And when I say different phases of weight loss, these are more like the learning curves that I went through, from making mistakes and learning what I needed to learn, not necessarily the weight loss phases that I would take my clients through now, because those are much more streamlined than the process that I went through. And I'm also walk you through how I was able to eat more and work out less while still seeing great results. So one day I woke up and I was overweight. I know I didn't wake up overweight, but one day I did. I walked into my bathroom, I looked in the mirror, and I did not recognize the person that I saw. The way I saw myself and what I was seeing inside the mirror was not congruent. I reached 215 pounds, and if you're not aware, I'm 5'6". That's quite a lot of weight for my frame. I had zero energy throughout the day, and I also had zero drive to do anything. And upon reflection, I realized that my life was essentially a mess, and my body, the way I was treating my body, and the way my body looked was a reflection of everything that was going on inside. So at that point, I decided I was going to make a change. I wanted to look in the mirror and be proud, and not only proud of what I saw, but proud of the person that I had become. And once I hit that turning point, and I also, went through the process of losing weight, I came out the other side a better person. And while I'm still working on myself and working on the things that I want to work on, I look in the mirror and I'm much more prouder than at that point that I got to. And I also vowed that I would never let myself get to a breaking point like that again. Um, Before I make changes, I was going to catch myself ahead of time, so that way I don't have to get that far, and I can stop myself before we hit catastrophic failure. So they say that you are what you eat. When I first started tracking calories and macronutrients, and started learning about that stuff, I found out that around 60% of my diet came from fats because I was eating a lot of junk food. Fun fact: I saw a dietitian and I walked through my diet with her. Her jaw dropped and she was shocked because I told her I had like chili cheese fries for breakfast, like Panda Express or In and Out for lunch with a milkshake, and at Panda all the greasy items that I could possibly have. And then for dinner, I had like pizza, alcohol, donuts, wings, all in one sitting. So, you can eat junk food while losing weight. What matters is how much junk food that you're eating. Now, if you want to be healthy and still eat junk food, then you have to actually eat junk food less frequently on top of the amount of junk food you're eating per sitting. But we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So, I did a lot of things at this point. When I hit that breaking point, I lost 25 pounds in less than 3 months. I followed eat less, move more, and I, you know, did a lot of stuff that worked to get me 25 pounds down, but I just ended up regaining all of that plus a little bit more. So here's where I started making some changes. Actually, no, we're going to talk about one thing real quick. Weight loss isn't linear. So essentially, weight loss isn't going to go in a diagonal approach. You're not going to, if your goal is to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week and you have, let's say, 40 pounds to lose, you're not going to lose that in one stint. Weight usually fluctuates up and down for many, many reasons, too many reasons for this. But also, you can lose some weight, gain some weight back, but, keep losing, and it can go like this and ultimately go down. I know you can't see that. I'm just trying to visualize it for you. But essentially, if you're trying to lose weight right now and you lost some weight and maybe you gained a little bit of it back, don't worry about it. Just keep working on your progress, and eventually you will get there. It's perfectly normal for your weight to fluctuate even as you're losing it. I also wanted to let you know that I did lose, that's supposed to say 45 pounds. I lost 45 pounds while eating pizza and still drinking alcohol because I learned to listen to my body. I built up my metabolism, and then I also paired that with nutrition knowledge and education. So I put all that together and I did something that worked for me. And this process did take a long time, though. It took 2 years to lose 40 pounds because I was very inconsistent. And ultimately, that was just because I was doing it on my own, which many people choose to do. And because I didn't know what I was doing wrong, the learning curve just made the process take a lot longer than it could have. So hopefully this stuff helps you out. Now, you can eat what you want. Like I said previously, what matters most is how much you're eating. So the quantity of food you're eating, and then how often you're eating junk food, because unless you're tracking it. So we're going to talk about that shortly. So phase one, the first thing I did, I actually started tracking calories and I started weighing my food and I started meal prepping. All things I'd never done before. And the things I was meal prepping were foods that I would never eat normally. Chicken, broccoli, rice for like 2 meals, oatmeal for breakfast, and then like some weird protein desserts that I would either buy at the store that taste funny, or something I'd find on YouTube that they make it seem delicious but wasn't really delicious. I tried that for a while. None of that was working for me. All the meal prep was ending up in the trash, and I wasn't losing weight because I just ended up binging the food. Whatever calories I would have saved from eating all that food, I just binged it back. So instead, I started making intuitive changes. So, two changes. I started eating less junk food frequently. So, I went from eating junk food like 5, 6 days a week, all day, 3, 4 meals a day, to 4 days a week, 3 days a week, and then five meals a week. Nowadays, I'll probably have junk food, 2 to 3 meals a week, unless I'm on vacation, and that's just because junk food's expensive now. It's 2024, and McDonald's has a $25 meal. And the other thing is, I started following a workout exercise program that I could stick to. So I do the minimum effective dose for workouts. I use that for most of my clients, unless they have the time to workouts. If you work a lot of hours, you have family and stuff like that, it's just not feasible for most people. But for my clients that do, I program more workouts for them. But essentially, I focused on progressive overload. So I was working out 2 times a week, and then I focused on progressive overload, which is essentially, to keep it short, is just getting stronger on those same lifts every single week, every single month. And then I added in a small step goal, 3 to 5,000 steps per day. I started off small because every time I tried to do 10,000 steps a day from zero, or from 200, 500 steps a day, it just didn't work out. So 3 to 5,000 steps per day was easy to stick to. And during that time, I lost 10 pounds. I went down to like 205, and I built muscle at the same time, but eventually I got stuck. So as you're losing weight, your body adapts. Your weight comes down and you burn less calories, which means you have to eat less calories to maintain that weight. And then you also have to eat less calories to lose weight from there. So I got stuck, and the intuitive choices just weren't working for me anymore. So the next phase, I lost another 10 pounds. I got down to 195. And essentially, what I learned is, we don't know what we don't know. I went back to having to, track calories. And this time, eventually, I started, when I was doing that, I stopped being strict with trying to weigh every single thing. So if I went out, I just eyeball the food and use my best guess, which worked. And I learned a lot about portion sizes. I started increasing my protein. So instead of chewing chicken, broccoli, and rice, I stopped, doing that, and I just found ways to increase protein with foods that I actually liked. And then I ramped up my metabolism even more by increasing my step counts. And the protein actually helps increase your metabolism. And then I also, started getting in more fruits and veggies throughout the week, not every single day, but throughout the week, and taking a multivitamin, and sleeping more, which all helps with your metabolism. And then I also learned how to plan around weekends and special occasions, because what I found was the intuitive choices were working during the week, but during the weekends and special occasions, I would end up, enjoying myself, but end up overindulging. So I learned how to plan around that stuff. The next phase, I got stuck around 195 again, and then so I just had to start being a little bit more diligent. And what I did is I just started tracking most of my food instead of eyeballing it, which now that actually paid off because when I eyeball food now, it's like pretty accurate. Sometimes I pick up like I like those Lenny and Larry cookies if you've ever tried them, and I can feel like, oh, this one's a little bit heavier than it's supposed to. Anyhow, going through that process has helped me long term, even though it was a little bit of a pain in the beginning when I started weighing almost every single thing. And then I also started tracking alcohol, and I set the limit to 2 to 4 drinks per week when I was in a weight loss phase. So there was that, and yeah, like I said, lost 10 pounds there. And then I got stuck for an entire year at 185 pounds. And what I learned from this, I'll, it was a big waste of time, and I'll tell you why right now. But essentially, my mindset was the issue. I was always on a diet in my head, like I'm going to lose that next 10 to 15 pounds. That's what I kept thinking, what I kept saying. And I started this pattern that many of us fall into, which was I'm going to start again on Monday. Like I did get Monday through Thursday again, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it went out the water, and I just started again on Monday. And for almost an entire year, I was dieting in my head. That's what I was doing. So that's essentially called yo-yo dieting. I would lose some weight during the week and then regain it all back on Thursday. Or maybe I would, gain weight the entire week, and then the next 3 weeks I would lose that weight. My weight was just going up and down, up and down. Stuck around 185. And essentially, what I learned during this phase is our mindset and our mental health really impacts the weight loss. If I could go back again, I would have realized that I needed a break. Let me talk about that. Yeah, so I needed a break from all that dieting. I had lost, what is that? 595, 105, 30 pounds. And that's a lot of weight to lose. And even though I wanted to look better and, get a six pack and everything, um, I needed that mental break and that physical break. So that's what I ended up doing. I took I think it was like a month break to give myself a mental break from being on a diet. And from there, I was just able to keep doing what I was doing before and lost the weight. So I overcame that mental barrier that I had with weight loss that a lot of people don't realize that we get. It's not all just food tracking and the physical portion of it, like exercise and stuff. There's the mental aspect of it is really, really huge. And then eventually I got down to around 170. I think this was around 172. And I went into the hardest stage for most people. A lot of people can rip off a lot of weight like I did. I lost that 25 pounds really quickly, but most people don't know how to maintain their weight, which is, a lot of people will eat, they'll be on a diet and they'll be losing weights, but they're not learning how to diet in a way that's going to, they're going to be able to stick to it for long term. What I mean is, the way that you approach your diets should be pretty similar to how you're going to maintain your weight. So there shouldn't be too much of a change other than when you're not losing weight anymore, you're just going to be eating, more food. And if you learn how to do that, there's no huge changes from losing what you're eating while you're losing weight and then what you're eating while you're maintaining your weight. The losing weight part does take more effort. It's harder. You're going to be hungry. You're going to have to make some sacrifices to get to that point, but it shouldn't be a complete 360 change to your life overnight that you're most likely not going to be able to stick to long term. Essentially, you want to build habits over time so that way while you're going through the weight loss process, so that way when you come to, just maintaining your weights and intuitive eating, those habits are working for you and have replaced all the old bad habits. Now, at this point, I did keep tracking my food intake up until a point that I found a balance that worked for me. So, essentially, you want to intuitively eat. If you notice that your weight's coming up too much, like more than 5 pounds, you just start bringing it back down. You can, do a controlled weight loss phase to get that 5 pounds loss, or you can intuitively eat to lower that 5 pounds back to like around where you want to be. But it's essentially at this point, I had very minimal weight fluctuation. And, upon reflection, these are the two things that I would tell myself. Go slow and steady for long-term health. A lot of those diets that are going to have you lose a lot of weight quickly, it's probably not good for your health, and most likely you're not going to be able to stick to it long term, and it's a lot harder for you to keep off that weight that you lost. And then focus on progress over perfection. At the end of the day, unless the way your body looks is like dependent, your income's dependent on the way your body looks. It doesn't matter if you lose the weight, you know 2 years, whatever time it takes, that's okay, as long as you're improving, you know improving yourself. As long as you're working on yourself, as long as you're making better changes over time, eventually you're going to get to your goal. So hopefully you can identify yourself somewhere within everything that I went through. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Feel free to reach out to me. I am Johnny M Fitness on Instagram. Happy to chat with you. Otherwise, keep up the progress.